started. So excited that Sarah and her Pop-Tart, and I'll explain that here in just a second, are with us today. Right before we got on this call, so we were just talking about as being expected mamas. Clarification, only one of us is an expected mama right now. So we'll just take that out of any question or confusion. But Sarah is pregnant right now. We're talking about how much energy that we can expand in just raising this little baby that at the time is a jelly bean. And she shared that at this point, she thinks that her baby is the size of a Pop-Tart. So anyway, we're so glad both of you are here to join us.
Thank you. Me and my little Pop-Tart are so glad to be here.
I love it.
If you're in the chat right now, go ahead and pick a flavor for her because I haven't decided.
Ooh, flavor. Okay. I like this. And so we know a girl. Congratulations.
We know it's a girl.
Oh, and I'm glad all of your energy is back, right? I'm glad that you're
Yes.
starting to feel better again.
Feeling good.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So Sarah, I'm so glad that we are connecting to be able to chat a little bit more just about Kristen says strawberry. Okay, I like it. Pink too.
I love it.
I mean,
Pink. It's perfect.
It really goes well. But yeah, so Sarah, you have been doing videography, and I love even what you're talking about, the current project that you're working on as well. So you don't do just wedding photography, videography, but you do a lot of it. So tell us a little bit about your history in the videography world and what you're doing.
Yeah. So briefly, I've been shooting video for weddings in particular for coming up on 10 years now. I've recently gotten really into the destination scene, kind of working into this like luxury market, kind of getting there. We'll see. But anyway, been doing that for a long time. And then in 2020, I started doing a lot of corporate video. So that was kind of a result of the pandemic, events being shut down. And then businesses being like, oh my gosh, what do? We still have to keep going and make money. Marketing is all online now. It's all video content. What do we do? So I started picking up a lot of corporate work at that time. So now I do both and it's super fun.
That's awesome. Okay. So you talked about destination wedding. So I got to just stop on that for just a second, because I'm a girl who loves to travel. So tell me where your favorite destination wedding that you videoed.
Yes. So my favorite so far has been the Unico Resort in Mexico, Riviera Maya. It's just really nice. Like the days before and after the wedding, just hanging out at the pool and like room service is so nice. But my dream, I'm really trying to get into the Europe circuit, like getting into Italy and Santorini, but it is extremely competitive and they don't want Americans over there, which I totally understand. But I'm dedicated. I'm going to try it.
I love it. Yeah. Well, and okay, so they don't want Americans, but there's Americans that love to travel and would totally take you over there. So
that's right.
Go ahead and make that happen. Yeah. So
I just got to find them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kristen is live on here. And so Kristen and I shot weddings for years together. And so we both did photography. And what we were finding is that we were second shooting for each other so often that we're like, okay, she likes certain things about the business and I like certain things about the business. Thankfully, our strengths and weaknesses really married each other quite well. So we're like, let's do this together. And it was amazing. And we did destination weddings. We went to Mexico. Went there a couple different times. And that was just so fun. And you're right. Sitting poolside, Kristen, can you tell me, agree that sitting poolside the day after the wedding was quite amazing? Yeah, she says we had too much. Okay, now that you just said two and made that very explanation, I'm like, yeah, we did have a lot of fun in Mexico and great stories. So we have fun wherever we go. And you know what? If we can do that in business, we're going to attract the right people. You're going to attract those people that are going to take you to Italy too. So that's awesome.
That's right.
Very
That's
cool.
right.
I love it. Yeah, for sure. So what is the percentage of your business doing corporate and weddings now?
I'd say it's probably 70% weddings, 30% corporate. Although last year it was 90% corporate, 10% weddings. So I had a really large contract last year that went the whole year long for corporate video. Our local hospital system, this is timely because I filmed all their childbirth classes, their breastfeeding class, and all the education for like preschool ages and like what to do, how to not kill them and how to help them not die and like all that kind of stuff.
Great. You're like, okay, I have a little more confidence raising my own child now. So that's a win.
That's right. I know what to expect. And while I was filming all that, I swore I would never get pregnant and never have children. And here we are.
Interesting. God has a fun sense of humor when you think that you got the plan, right? Elizabeth, she's on here live and she is expecting her fourth, I think, right, Elizabeth?
Oh,
So
bless.
I know, and I could be wrong, so she'll have to clarify me. I do love that she said that she talked about flavors, though she said Napoleon, which is funny until you corrected it as Neapolitan, Elizabeth. I'm like,
Napoleon.
I didn't even recognize it. I'm like, Napoleon, I knew exactly what you meant. So
Me too. Me too.
oh, that's awesome. Well, so today, I mean, we kind of talked about just diving a little bit into the wedding space in general, as far as videographers, photographers, how does the day look like?
Yeah.
How do you work together? I remember, Kristen, when we'd shoot weddings, there was a time like when you don't realize like where they're working, how they're angled and set up, like you can get in your own world, right? Because you're there for a mission, you're there to collect for us, photograph those memories, and we can kind of forget that there's other people that are doing something and has a job at hand as well. So, let's start with just talking a little bit about wedding days, what you've seen, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, I remember one
Yeah.
point when Kristen, she went into she was going into like videographer, like Facebook groups and stuff. And I was so glad because I didn't, we're in our world, right? I don't think about it. And there were people like, oh yeah, great. Here's another, like basically like knock-on photographers, like enough already. I think you got the picture. Cause we're like flash, 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 which is impacting your final product too. So, it's really great to be able to be aware of what the other person is doing, what they're trying to get, maybe how we
Yeah.
can show up and make sure that we're serving and doing really well to make sure we get what we want and ensure that we're being, kind and doing things properly for videographers too. So I say, let's just start there. And then wherever the
Yeah.
conversation goes, if it goes to corporate, if people have questions, feel free to chime in. If you have your own stories of what worked, what didn't work, chime in too. But let's just start there. How's that sound?
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome.
So I will say every wedding is going to have a photographer. Not every wedding is going to have a videographer. So I think in that way, it's a little different because photographers are used to doing their own thing more so than videographers are. Because every wedding we do has a photographer. So
Sure.
we're like, yeah, like we're going to show up and we're going to work with the photo team. Duh. But that's not always the case for our photographer friends. And I will say, then this ruffles some videographers' feathers, but photography takes priority on the wedding day. It is the more important medium. It's what the couples value more. Like, y'all get priority for sure, which is the opposite in corporate work. So if y'all are in here doing corporate wants video content. That's where they're making money. And so like our budgets when we walk on set are just like wild. You know what I mean? Like it's
Sure.
crazy. They pay us so much money. Weddings is not that way. We might make half of what the photographer makes because it's not valued and it's not as useful in that medium. So it's just different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. So knowing that they're so different, like how did you decide to, I'm already getting off topic of the weddings, but this is
No,
interesting that
you're
you're talking about that, right? Like, so it's
good.
like, so you started in weddings, but then you went into corporate. How did you make that transition and leap knowing how different it was? How'd you even know how to price? Like, so in my circle here in this group, we are all about, properly pricing, knowing your numbers, knowing
Yeah.
your worth, right? So when you switched gears, how did you even know? Like, where did you even start with that?
Yeah. So I knew from the wedding industry, like for every hour I film, it's usually 2 hours of editing. So I knew already kind of what my time was going to look like. So from that angle, I was able to price the projects pretty fairly. But also with corporate work, like I found myself in this niche of really wealthy, like life coaches. I had a photographer
Wonderful.
friend. I know. I was like, this is great. It's like I had a photographer friend who was doing all the photo content, but she doesn't do video. And so when her clients were like, we need a videographer, there were like 3 of them. She like immediately pulled me in on their projects and they're like, all right, we had $20,000 for the month. We need this much content. And I was like, yes.
What? $20,000
Absolutely.
for a month budget for
Yeah,
video?
for just the month, like so we'd shoot for like 2 days, I mean, it was probably like 60 hours of work, but I was like, still like the dollar per hour was just not the same. And that is an anomaly. That was not going to happen for everybody. But yeah, I got really lucky in the moment because they were having to move all their content online. They couldn't run in person like workshops anymore. They wanted to put out e-courses and like
Sure.
evergreen content. So that's kind of how I got started into corporate. And since then, working with other companies, I really just quote them by the hour, around
Okay.
500 an hour, sometimes 1,000 an hour if it's a smaller project. But
Sure.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I found works for businesses.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Well, and man, what a great way to jump into it though. I mean,
I know.
what I love is that
It's very
that
abnormal.
they gave you the budget though. And that's what I say. That's
They
what I tell
did.
people. Like it with corporate, it's a different beast. And next week we're talking with Holly,
Yeah.
going about branding commercial as well. So we'll dive deep into it there.
Yeah,
But it does. Corporate is run differently. They have budgets. They
it
know
is.
it's not unusual for us as photographers, videographers coming in and be like, okay, cool. What is your budget for this project? Where
Yeah.
in the other side, and personal and session stuff, it's like, well, just tell me your price. Like, why are, like it would feel weird,
Yeah.
right? But in corporate, it's expected. And
Yeah.
honestly, having things where you can having add-ons is huge because they have a budget. They're looking for someone that's fitting in that budget that's not going to go well under.
Mhm.
I have friends that have lost like $30,000 projects. Their work was impeccable. What they did was great. And they lost it because their bid was only $10,000. Right. So it seems so
Yeah.
weird and unnatural that you can, but yet it happens everywhere, right?
Yeah.
People place
It's very
value on your
different
price. And yeah, and in the corporate world, it definitely
the
is.
way
So
you sell.
yeah,
Yeah, like you come out the gate on a wedding talking about money, you've already lost them.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you come out the gate in the business world, like, all right, what kind of budget are you working with? And they're like, I got 20 grand. And I'm like, cool, this is what I can do for you with 20
yeah,
grand.
yeah.
And they love that, but you don't do that for a wedding.
Right. We're evoking the emotion. We're going there first before talking money. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, well, so let's talk about those weddings, like on wedding days, like
Yeah.
because I think that's a great point. Most weddings, they do have a photographer, and if there's extra budget or they value having a little bit more,
Mhm.
then they're going to do the videography. So yeah, and Kristen, you're on here. How many weddings do you think we had videographers? She's more the numbers, the organized person. I just showed up for the fun and take pictures. So maybe she chime in. But we were there. It was not as often that we'd have videographers. So
Yeah.
just share a little bit about what that looks like when both of them are together, like when you have a photographer and work there. How does it look? What does the day look like?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I can just go, I have some like notes over here from
Yeah.
my, like I actually have a guide on like what do photographers need to know to work with video professionals. And it's mostly for photographers who are getting up into the level of weddings where you're going to start having a videographer more often than not.
Sure.
But yeah, so like pre-wedding, before, you know, the couples booked the photographer, they booked me, or maybe we were booked by the planner or whatever. Before the wedding, I always tried to make contact with the photographer and just say like, hey, this is who I am, like this is my name, you're going to see me on these communications, like it's great to meet you. If you want to get coffee and meet and chat, like we can do that, whatever, if they're local. So I try to like just let them know who I am, that I'm going to be there so they're not like blindsided. And then also during the day is including us in the planning calls, because when you have a videographer on site, the timeline is going to look a little different. There's going to be a little bit more buffer time with portraits. They might add on 10 minutes for us specifically. They might give us more time between events to like move all of our gear from one place to another, because we have like 3 times the gear that a photographer is usually going to have, and it's a pain.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, before the wedding. And something else I will throw out there is like, on the photographer's end, I've seen photographers lose business because they acted petty about a videographer being there at all. So the bride will ask them like, hey, what videographer recommendations do you have? And they're like, you don't want a videographer.
Oh
They're going to get in the way. It's going to be a whole thing. It's going to make the timeline complicated. And
no.
yeah. And then the brides are like, well, I don't want to work with you now because you were being annoying about what I wanted, basically.
Wow.
So I put that out there. I have heard that. I've had 2 of my brides fire their photographer because they just didn't want to get along with the rest of the wedding.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
shocking to have those conversations, but hey, that's great
It
awareness.
is.
Like, hey, you could be losing a job from it. Kristen just commented that so Kristen and I shot weddings till like 2019, I think it was. And at that point, then I went and moved over just into all of my high school seniors, and because of my kids growing up, like I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that I wasn't doing the weekends anymore. But she said that it was about 30% when we were working together that we'd have videographers there. And now it's about 70% that she's working with videographers. So, and
Yeah.
she didn't go into it because she continues to increase her pricing, so she's
Hmm.
getting up into another elevated area and attracting more of that. And I think there's just more value and excitement for it. And so there's more in there.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love to
definitely.
see that there's so many more. And Kristen says she always pushes for a videographer. So are you telling me, Kristen, you haven't gotten fired from a job yet?
You haven't told your bride that a videographer is just going to ruin everything.
I know. We've always said, I'm like, I loved it. Now there are times that we'd get in the zone and I'd be like, oops, I'm standing in the way, and they're
Yeah.
like, hey, can you just move? I'm like, oh gosh, so sorry. Like I get in that, but I'm like, I love that. And I think Kristen, we've said that, like, it's like, if you have the wet photography and videography, you capture it all. The pictures are going to be there and they're going to be on the walls. You're going to have them in albums forever. But to be able to have those little moments or that little smirk, or there's little things, little details that a photo can't always catch. Right. So to catch those little, nuances sometimes, I think is really, really neat. So I love that.
Yeah. And to your point too, like, they're going to put their photos on their wall. Like, it's going to be a part of their decor in the house. Their video, they're going to log on to their link and watch it on their anniversary. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
why I say, like, photo does take priority on the day of. Plus, they're usually paying you guys more. Usually it's going to be twice what they've budgeted for video. So I know, like, my prices are coming in somewhere between like 3,000 to 5,000 on the lower end. So like the photographers they're working with are $8,000 to $12,000 on average. Like,
Yeah.
very talented professional photographers who, they have a workflow and it should be respected.
Sure. Well, I love that. And you talked about like wedding planners too. Do you find that when
Yeah.
you get brought in for videography for weddings, that most of them have wedding planners because
Yeah,
they are the higher end?
I don't do weddings without planners anymore. That's a decision I made in 2021. Um,
Love that.
and yeah, so like, if you don't have a planner, I'm not doing it, to be honest. Like,
Awesome.
it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, but what I love about that is that you're doing what works best for you, because
Yeah.
when you do what works best for you, it's going to work best for your clients, right? There's going to be better communication. You make sure the timeline, like you're saying, we're going to buffer a little extra time in. Those planners know that, as
Mhm.
opposed to feeling like there's miscommunication and stuff. So good for you.
Yeah.
That's
There's too
awesome.
many logistics with video, too much room for something to go wrong. And when there's not a planner, the photographer runs the day, which is awesome. But like, now they also have to be the planner, manage the timeline, answer and field random questions from people, and photograph this wedding.
It is
Like,
so true.
yeah, they do not have time to look at video and be like, okay, did you get what you need? They're like, everybody run, get it done. Like, they're busy.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I will say though, we were actually really good, about when we'd work with videographers, but it's one more thing we've said many times. We're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we are not paid enough to be the wedding planners as well. And we always did. We loved it. Right. Cause we want to make sure that the bride's day, and groom's, right. But the bride and groom's day goes off without a hitch, and something that is really memorable. And so we'll do what we can, but yeah, it adds another layer for sure. Chris says
Definitely.
so true.
Yeah, it is. So we can move into like the wedding day too.
Yeah.
So like, what I always like to tell the photographers and the wedding planners is that we literally, very literally, capture every moment the photographer captures. So like, if they're doing a flat lay, we will video that. If they're like, when they go to do ceremony details, we go with them. Like, we go where they go, because it's really important for the couple's experience that their photos and their video match. So like, if video is off doing something random and photo takes the couple for like portraits, that's a problem. Or if photo goes to take ceremony details and video is off shooting like the flat lay, that can be a problem, because what if they look different? Like,
Sure.
what if the florals are different at the time that it's shot versus the time video gets there? So for me, I think it's really important that we stick together, and photo appreciates that too. Like, we're not manufacturing moments that photo is also going to want or need, and then we're making the couple do things twice and they're like, this is a mess. Like, it's just easier when we do everything together.
Sure. Have that cohesiveness to it.
Yeah,
That makes
definitely.
a lot of sense.
Definitely. And then, yeah, I mentioned like, we need a lot more time to move from place to place, because we have to move like loads of gear. So sometimes it works out where we can like drop everything off earlier in the day. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sure.
So those moments between like the ceremony and then you go to portraits and then you have to set up for the reception is like, that's the most stressful time for a videographer, because we have to like unmic everybody from the ceremony and make sure we have all that. We have to break down 4 or 5 tripods, pack it up, move it somewhere else, reset it up, then come back for portraits, or like divide and conquer if I have a second shooter.
Yeah.
So yeah. And there's, most of the time photographers are great and they're like, we're going to go at a slow pace. Like we're going to let the couple have a minute just to themselves while you get all that set up. Or they're like, we're going to go do like the standard posy pictures with absolutely no movement. And then we'll do the movement shots when you come back. And I'm like, you guys are awesome. And then we have other photographers who are like, bye, sucker. Like, see you later.
Like, oh, great.
Like, and then we can't find them.
Oh,
yeah. And we're
man,
like,
that's unfortunate.
now what do we do? I know. Yeah. But it happens. And it's not because they're being mean and we're literally like, bye. But they were just like, in their mind, they're like, okay, ceremony, portraits, reception. They're doing their
flow
job.
and that's what it is. And so that's what we're moving on to make sure that we get it all done. No.
Exactly.
And I could see where the planner would be helpful and just educating, right? So then the planner gets to be more of an educator as well in those conversations beforehand of, all right, so what is it you need? Just creating awareness around it. I mean, we've not had that, but there have been times that I'm like, I could feel for you, because when we've been at a couple of receptions that were like, I mean, we turn around, like we as photographers, like you say, it's not near as difficult. Move a light stand. And literally, I'm like, we're still carrying a light stand from one corner of the room to the other. We're like, and they're like, and welcome to the reception. We're like, hold up.
Yeah.
Like, I hope we have something in focus. I hope we didn't blow everything out. I'm like, there's no time. So at a couple of those weddings we've done, man, you guys would have been hosed. There's no transition, no time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another reason I require a planner, because they know that as well.
Absolutely.
And they're gonna tell the DJ, hey, we need 2 more minutes, play one more song, tell everyone to get seated, like whatever. They can slow down the day for us when we need it.
Yeah. We've had a couple DJs and I'm like, man, you're on a high horse about this. Like, why can't you wait another 60 seconds? Like, really felt like we were putting them out, like, we just need to move a few lights. I'm like, is it really that big a deal? So I don't know.
Right. Like, you can't give me like 30 seconds.
I know.
Do something, but yeah. Yeah, that happens. So really, it's just like, it just takes us longer to move from place to place. And we want to capture what you're capturing at the time you're capturing it, because it's just a better experience for the couple. And then all the content matches across the board. And then, the thing everyone complains about is like, you're in my shot, you're in my shot. So this is really important for photographers and videographers to understand that, like, for video, we're capturing like 10-second moments. So like, we're going to hold a shot steady for 10 seconds, usually 8 to 10 seconds is what we need. So like, if you break the couple of the pose really quickly, we lose that whole moment and the whole shot. If someone walks in front of our camera, we lose the whole shot. It's not like a photo where you can snap, someone walks in front of it, one of the snaps is gone, then you have the next 10 snaps, right? Like, it's just really different. So, walk behind the camera when you can. Most people are really good about it, but every once in a while, you're busy, or you like space cadet, or you don't see it, or like whatever, and that's fine. But
now I remember one time, yeah, absolutely. I remember one time when I was like trying to duck under it, like the position of everything. I'm like, okay, well, I can't go behind. And I was trying to duck under it, and I was like ducking, but maybe not quite as much. And so like you'd see this little bit of me, and the guy's like, he's like, you know what? And he told me, he's like, just walk across. I can snip that little half, like in that instance of what it was. He's like, stop with your effort, because it's only like 80% effort, because I wasn't getting all the way down. I'm like, okay. So yeah. And I think just really the communication right when you meet them, right? I mean, meet the videographers, anyone else there, and be like, okay, awesome. And that's what we would always do. What is it that you need? Where is it? How are you setting up for ceremony or stuff? I mean, open communication goes a long ways with that, right?
Yeah,
just being aware
definitely.
Of location.
Especially during the ceremony. Yeah. Because for video, like, we usually have 3 to 5 cameras set up for the ceremony, which means the photographers can go wherever they want to go. Because like, if you're on this side of the thing, we're going to use the angle from this side of the ceremony. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be a big deal. But I do find that, like, this is gonna be mean, but like new videographers or videographers who are really inexpensive, don't know that, and they bring like 2 cameras, and then they get all pissy when someone walks in front of it. And it's like, well, you honestly didn't come prepared. And
Sure.
like that's kind of on you at that
Yeah.
point. Like, sorry.
Yeah. No, really, we've had pretty good experience with the videographers. We've worked with people from, the high end down to the pretty new. And I will say what you're saying really holds true, right? Because the ones that have been like brand new, or like maybe it was Billy Bob's brother, right? That's coming in, and one
Yeah.
camera, and they're like, literally, I'm like, dude, how is the bride and groom even going to like enjoy the moment of the two of them as they're reading their vows? Because they were so close to them. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're in their space, let
Like,
alone, I
don't
mean,
do
let
it.
alone we can't even try to get the any angle that's going to be worthy of,
Yeah.
having being able to capture that moment. But I'm like, I gotta think that they got to feel a little uncomfortable because you were so darn close. It's like
Yeah. It's
a little bit.
weird.
Yeah.
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 And that's another thing too, is matching focal lengths with the photographers. Like if I'm shooting a day with a 35mm photographer, that's the same lens I put on my camera too. But if
Oh.
I'm shooting a day with a zoomy lens photographer who's shooting on a 70-200, that's the lens I put on my camera. And then we can stay back together.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I don't know that I ever put that together, but and I'm sure the ones that we do have done it, but it makes sense, right? Because
Yeah.
I was like,
It's just
oh,
easier.
I'm like, are we in the way? Do you need your shot? And they're like, oh no, we got it. I'm like, oh, you got it. Like you're right there. Well, yeah, because they're using the right equipment. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's how video should be working. We should be matching what the photos are doing, because the couple put a lot more thought into who their photographer was going to be and the style that they like. And a lot of that has to do with focal length and the way that you edit. So like
Yes, I hadn't
it's
even
just
considered.
another
Yes.
way.
So true. I'd not put that together. It makes a whole lot of sense. Style and
Yeah.
everything. Because right, yeah, whatever we're shooting with, it's going to make a big difference on how it is.
Mhm.
I see Krista's made a couple comments. She said, honestly, DJs go rogue more than anyone else on a wedding day.
That
They,
is so true.
I know. You agree. Yeah.
Yes,
They like their time in their
that's
place.
right.
And
They
what
they have
do.
that microphone and
Yep.
they're like,
Yep.
I'm in charge for the rest of the day. We love our
Yeah,
DJ friends,
I
but there
know.
are some that it's like, what is happening?
I know. So it's like, you remember, you can just play music. Like you don't have to, make this about you. But anyway, digressing.
Yeah,
But yeah.
definitely.
And Kristen said, what bothers me is videographers with only one camera that stay in the middle of the aisle the whole ceremony.
Yeah,
So yep. Yep. We're,
yep,
we're on the same page there.
absolutely not. Feel free to tell them to move.
I know. And I always I would just feel back. I'm like, okay, well, find somewhere else. Cause I'm like, they're there to do a job too. But I really love the
Yeah,
conversation and things you're pointing out as far as like the cohesiveness and who kind of takes priority on what day, and the difference of videography and photography, what takes priority on wedding days versus corporate and branding. And I found that too. Like when I
yeah,
shoot for photos, it's in corporate, it's definitely secondary. Like, and well, now that you say it, I mean, I do the same thing. Like I match whatever it is that they're doing, I'm looking and seeing what it is. I'm like, and then I'm using the same thing. Sometimes I'll go in a little bit tighter in Zoom, but for those things, it's like, yes, they're doing their job. And I'm the fly on the wall. Like I'm not asking to even set, very rarely am I even asking to set things up. I'm capturing
yeah.
what happens just like you guys are on wedding days. So yeah.
Yeah. We act a lot more as like the creative director as well on corporate shoots. Like they
Yes.
expect us to come with like the idea for the script, the like promotional film or whatever we're doing. What studio are we going to rent? What like environmental things do we need to rent? Like it's just very different. Then you show up on a wedding day and it's like they've worked with their planner to curate their vision and they have their photographer and we're there to just kind of capture whatever's going on. And they expect it at a high level, which is great because like I'm charging them enough that yeah, they're going to get a high level product,
Right.
but we're not in control of the day either. So it's just really different.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're definitely switching gears.
Yeah.
And so those of you guys that are on live, I mean, if you've got any specific questions, if you want to share, I mean, if any of you guys want to even hop on, I know, there's a couple different people. Lauren, I think, was going to try to hop on too, but if you guys want to even hop on Zoom with us and just chat for a couple minutes, you certainly can, whether it's asking questions or just sharing a story or commiserating, whatever, right? I mean, we really just wanted to be able to hop on for a little bit, talk a little bit about the differences in video and photo, on wedding days, how to work together, how to make your life easier, as a photographer and videographer. Now, speaking of photographers and videographers, I mean, what we talked a little bit about, like if photographers were like, well, maybe we expand and build a business around videography too and doing both.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I kind of fall into two camps on this. And it's really like, why do you want to do that? If your drive is profit, don't, because you're not going to be profitable adding in video just because you want the money. You're going to make less money. You're going to lose money trying to add in video. Photography is far more profitable in the wedding industry. If you want to add it in for corporate stuff, absolutely, you're going to do great. But if you just think, oh, couples want photo and video, so I'm just going to start doing video or offering video because you want the money, it's not going to go well for you.
Mm.
But if you're a photographer and like you really love doing video, and on wedding days you find yourself being like, man, I wish I was shooting video today instead of photographing, make the leap, like learn it. Because you want it, like your heart's in it. But if you're doing it for the money, you're going to losing money and you're going to be really resentful about the whole process, and it's just not going to be good.
That's great advice. And don't you find that's the case for anything that you do, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
if you chase the money, it's just not going to go as well. When you follow
No.
your passion, do what you love, even if you're not making the money, because right, sometimes it's a little bit of a climb to get to where you want to go. But if you love it and you keep following what you enjoy doing, like all of that makes it worthwhile. And the money will follow. It absolutely
Yeah.
will. But when you're chasing and looking only after the dollars, it's not necessary. And I mean, I equate
Yeah.
that to like, people that are working construction. Okay, well, I own a roofing business. Okay, cool. Well, gosh, but then people need siding too. Okay, well, I'm going to do siding too. Well, gosh, while we're there, they need kitchen remodel. I'm going to go ahead and do that too. The more we diversify, if we're not doing it in the right way and really thinking about a big picture, right? How many people are doing it? If it's a one-man show, right? It's different if you've got a whole
Yeah.
company. But now if we're talking in our world where it's a one-man show most often, all right, now we have tools for roofing. Now we have tools that are for kitchen remodels. Now we have tools that are only for siding, but we can't do all three of those jobs at once. So now those
Yeah.
tools and the investments sit there for a third of the time, if not more, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I think about this photo and video. It's like, what is it that you're
Definitely.
really wanting it for and how to make it work? It's not an absolute yes or no for people, right? But I love
Yeah.
that. What is the why behind it?
Yeah. Yeah. The why is going to tell you yes or no, in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
also, like video, if you want to try it, absolutely try it, but you'll realize the equipment's a lot more expensive. You need a lot more of the equipment. And the editing process takes 4 times as long as a wedding does. And a lot of people get there and that's the rude awakening. And they've invested $15,000, lost hundreds of hours of their life. And then like, I didn't actually want this. I just wanted the money and I'm losing so much money.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
the editing time, no way, that I was out. Like, because I
it's wild.
actually, when I invested and I went the RF, I got the R5 just because I'm like, well, the video capability, because just
Yeah,
what if maybe I want to do some of that.
yeah.
So I spent the extra money on the R5. I'll tell you, I've not used it at one lick and I'm okay with it. Like, I'm like,
Yeah,
no, I want to stay in what I know. I'm confident in my photography. Cause I always believe like, keep learning, right? You're always growing. You're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. So I'm always in the realm of wanting to learn and do more. And I learned, and I just decided, I'm like, nope, that's not the area where I want to keep growing. Right. And so
yes.
I'm next camera, I'm like, oh, I'll get an R6 for my backup. It'll be fine. I don't need that video, but
That's right.
it's a cool thing to try. I think if anyone's interested, yeah, absolutely monkey around with it. I did 1 or 2 like short videos for friends in other companies and like helped them with stuff.
Yeah,
And I'm like, shoot me, like, and
yeah.
it was not my thing. So I'm like, great. I learned it was not my thing before investing 15 grand and being frustrated by it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And there's also a third side of this conversation that I just thought about, and it's photographers who want to like subcontract out video under their brand. So the whole video community is against that, obviously, because like that's our specialty. That's what we do under our brands. And there's a lot of problems that come with subcontracting for somebody who doesn't do video. And like, what if the couple wants to change something? What if they're not happy with the end product? Is the photographer even selling like a realistic expectation or package
Mm.
for the day? Like, they don't know. They don't know how to sell the packages. They don't know how to edit them. They can't fix anything if something goes wrong. And they're typically undervaluing it. So it's much better to just build a relationship with like 2 or 3 photographers that you love and just refer them instead of trying to subcontract it out and like make that extra money. It's
Sure.
not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because for the little extra off, off the top that you're making, those are all very valid points about the concerns of what it is and having that communication and with that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, I mean, I feel like in our area, we're in Central Illinois and the photographers, videographers, like anyone in the wedding community, we really do a really good job of building those relationships and nurturing it to where
Yeah.
it's like, our expertise can be awesome. So you're interested in videography? Perfect. Here's 3 that we absolutely, and exactly what you're saying, right? Here's 3 that we absolutely love working with. They do a great job. Look at their styles. They're, all a little bit different. See which one resonates with you more and let me know, and I could, whatever. And just put the lead out there. And then, in return, right? I believe that all good that you put out,
Yeah.
more good's going to come back. So when you enjoy working with a videographer and vice versa, they enjoy it too. If they happen to be getting recommendations or someone asking for a recommendation, right? Who are they going to recommend?
Yeah.
You're going to be on their list too. So
Yeah. I'm going to tell my brides, if for some reason someone comes to me, they don't have a photographer
right. I was
yet,
going
which
to say, yeah.
hardly ever happens. I'm going to tell them my like top 3 favorite people.
Yeah.
And when my top 3 favorite people do styled shoots for their brand, I'm like, hey, do you want me to come video and do a promo film for you at your shoot? Because like you've sent me 10 weddings this year and I appreciate that. Like it all comes back around.
Yes. I love that. That's a great idea. I love how
Yeah.
that giving back, because that's huge. I mean, we talk about all the time, like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, it'd be so nice to have. And it's not like when I think about those things, it's usually when I'm there at something, I'm like, oh, that would have been nice to have a little something, or I'm last minute
Yeah.
like that. So it's like,
Shoot
oh, to
behind the
know,
scenes.
yes, to know like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
that's something that's available to me this year because of, the good that I spread her way. So awesome.
Yeah.
And plan a little bit
Definitely.
around that. Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. Do you do a lot of, do you do trade or anything with other photographers, like doing headshots and things and them trading, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I've done that in the past.
Yeah.
Usually for like my branding sessions, when I'm just like, I really need to update my headshots and stuff, I usually will just call a photographer up and be like, are you in the mood to like trade branding stuff? And I usually do end up working with someone else who does hybrid photo and video, because then we can do photo and video for each other at the
Sure.
shoot. So like the promo film on my website was a trade that I did with another videographer who also does photo. So we rented a studio. I think I paid for the studio. It was like $80 for like 2 hours.
Nice.
So I was like, I'll get the studio. We brought in like furniture from our house. I brought in my favorite rug that's in my living room. We like set up a chair and we just shot each other and like it was great.
Well, and
So
I
yeah,
remember looking at that video. I'm like, I love the video up on your main website. And you're like, I wouldn't be much of a videographer. I'm not promoting that. Right. I'm like, yeah, valid point. But I'm like, to me as a photographer, like if you have video on there, I'm like, that's just elevated. Like that's just setting yourself apart instantly.
yeah, definitely. And as a photographer, like if you're putting on a styled shoot or something that's very high end, like something you're doing for your brand to elevate it, videographers are also always looking to be part of like elevated styled shoots. And so like invite them. I did one with a new girl who has just moved to my town and she was like, I'm doing a really high-end styled shoot at like a very coveted venue in the area. Would you want to come and like maybe video some of me behind the scenes? And like you can also shoot the shoot like for your portfolio.
Yeah.
And I was like, heck yes. And I'm gonna do you one better. I'm gonna sit you down for a promotional film too. And like we're working through the editing process on that right now. But like always just invite people and like build those relationships. It's really easy, really fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Do you have any horror stories, any fun wedding, anything fun, any funny wedding thoughts or anything like that you've happened to experience?
So no horror stories, but the this is just kind of more of a funny story. The last wedding I photographed like 2 weeks ago, which I don't usually photograph weddings, but they were kind of like in an emergency. And I was like, yeah, I'm free, I'll do it. The bride had hired a DJ who is like a karaoke DJ. And so you can see where this is going. And he had done a corporate event of hers at her work. And so she was like, come do my wedding. And so they karaoke'd Macklemore's Downtown during the wedding reception. And I had never seen that before.
Really?
But I and the same bride played Twister like during the reception with her husband, and like whoever lost got smashed in the face with cake. And I was like, you guys are fun.
I was thinking like, those are my people. I don't know.
I know. I was like, y'all are wild. Okay.
That is awesome.
But that was fun. But no, honestly, I mean, there's only one photographer that I can think of off the top of my head that I'm like, I really would never want to work with them again, just because their attitude towards me and like my team the whole day was really bad.
Sure.
But like, they weren't directly like mean, but I was just like, I really want to work with them again.
Didn't feel welcome. Like, yeah.
Didn't feel welcome. They didn't want us around. They tried to cut us out of portraits. And like, we had to go find the planner and be like, where did they go? And they had driven off site.
No.
Somewhere. Yeah. And we were like, and she was like, did they leave you? And we were like, yeah, they left us here. And because they had rented like a classic car to like take with them. So we were all supposed to go together. And the planner was like furious. Like it was just bad, but.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But that's my only horror story.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That is crazy. There's no need for that.
I know. Absolutely not. So we did end up driving there and we caught like the tail 10 minutes and got what we needed. But it was just so awkward when we showed up too. Cause like they left us out on purpose. And then we like found them. So we had to walk up and be like, hey, we're here. Like, this is what the couple paid us to be here to do. It's like, we have to do it. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. No, that's wild. Nuts. That's nuts.
But that's one wedding of the 10 years I've been doing this that I've never been able to like get along with a photographer.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's not a good vibe when you've got someone that you're dealing with.
Yeah, bad vibes all around.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh, awesome. Not awesome in that aspect, but awesome that you've been doing weddings for 10 years and that's the only one that you.
Yeah, it was just one wedding. And there's been others where I'm like, oh, they're not like happy we're here, but we all were able to work together just fine. And like, that's fine by me.
Sure.
You don't have to like me, but we have to work together.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't understand why you can't just like everybody anyway. I mean, like put on a smile.
Just hang out.
Fine. So
we're all
one thing. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So earlier I was talking about flash. Like, is that something that when photographers are flashing and multifiring, is that something that bothers you? Is there issues or etiquette around things like that?
No, it's not something that bothers me at all. Other people do. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's flash. And I'm like, yeah, it's a wedding.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be flash.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about it. My only pet peeve is really when people talk during important moments. And that's not just for photographers. It's for like bridesmaids, whoever's in the room. Like if they're reading these personal letters that they wrote each other or something, and someone's like, oh my God, that's so cute. Are you gonna cry? And I'm just like, shut up. Like let them be in the moment, like experience their day. Just like let them chill.
So do you ever preface anything like that? Like as people are in the room, like when they're getting ready to do that, like do you tell anybody like, all right, basically shut up. Like, here we go.
Yeah. I'll just be like, all right, everyone, like they're going to read letters that they wrote each other. So if everyone could just be really quiet or even like step out for some privacy, that would be great. No one ever steps out for privacy, but at least they're quiet.
Everybody wants to see.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. And some videographers get mad about like the clicking, like the shutter on a camera during those moments. It doesn't really bother me either. Like if you know what you're doing, you can take it out with audio editing tools. Like for me, it's not an issue, but some people who don't know how to do that are like, oh my gosh, there's all this clicking. And I'm like, all you have to do is do the declicker effect. Like it's literally 4 camera shutters. Like put that on the audio clip and you're good.
Okay. That's amazing. Like I don't do video, but that's so fun that there's a declicker little action step.
There's
Yeah.
lots of tools to get around stuff. Same thing with Flash.
Yeah.
There's like deflickering tools for when like the lights aren't agreeing with your camera and
Yeah.
you get like the rolling shutter stuff. I don't know if you've ever experienced
Yep.
that. Or when there's Flash, like you just put that on the clip and move on. Like it's
Okay,
really not a
that's
big deal. Or
cool.
I like to leave the Flash in there. Like that was
Yeah.
part of the day. Sometimes I even put the photographers in the video too. Like it
Sure.
looks cool, like the paparazzi. So
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah.
bother me.
No. Well, that's interesting. Well, and I've always been like when they're doing those moments and it's a quieter moment and they've got the video, like I purposely will try to like step a little further away, so maybe that's when I do the zoom because I always thought I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
I don't want the shutter to be, loud and making noise and affecting that. So good to know. I'll
Yeah.
just tell them next time if they get mad, like,
That's
just use the
right.
declicker. Use the
That's right. Use the
declicker, dude.
declicker.
It's fine.
That's right. They'll be fine.
Awesome. If anybody have any questions, so we're just kind of wrapping up. We're just chit chatting. If you guys have any
Yeah.
questions or things that you wished, burning questions, thoughts, desires from a videographer perspective or anything, drop it in there. We'll just hang out for just another minute and then we'll wrap up.
That's
But
right.
I really enjoyed chatting with you and hearing a little bit more, just from the videographer side. And it's a great lead in from your wedding and corporate side to then next week we're bringing in Holly and she's going to be talking about branding and commercial photography. So it'll be fun to
Yeah.
talk to her and kind of get her take because she does some video too. So she's definitely gotten more into it. And like you were saying, it makes sense if you're going in that realm to be able to do both of those.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. Yeah. I'm excited to listen to that one too.
yeah.
I love hearing how other people do it because I am relatively new to it. Like I just started doing it 2 years ago. But like I like to see what other people are doing and how they're structuring their days, especially pricing on
Sure.
it. Cause
For
like
sure.
you never know. I always am just like how much money you got.
I know.
And like
How much money you got? I'm gonna take care of that. We're gonna
that's
make a
right.
package just
Like
for
I
you.
know what I can provide for you in that price point, but like
Yeah, but do you have to provide that much in that price point? Like, right? Because now, okay, you know what? Actually, instead of 8 hours, it's gonna be 4 hours. And if you'd like more, we can, find more in the budget and make a bigger budget, right? There's all kinds of things.
Right. We can make this a multi-day thing. Like yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of
Yeah.
different ways you can go about it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. That's awesome. Cause she's done weddings and has done wedding for years and then has slowly started doing commercial and is doing more of it and doing great. So
Yeah.
kind of making those transitions as well. So it'll be a fun conversation.
Yeah. It's definitely a fun, like creative change of pace too. Because weddings are kind of the same thing every week, which is fine. We find ways to make it creative for the couple. But like it's a wedding. Like you're limited in that sense. But
Yeah.
a corporate video, you're like, you can do anything you want to do. It's like, do you want to wear like a chicken suit or do you want to like sit for an interview? Like we can do whatever.
We can do whatever. I've got creative control. Let's go. We can make it a whole lot of fun. Yeah. Oh, well, and I can't remember the guy's name. He's a comedian that does a lot of short little snippets. And one of them was, like on a wedding day. And it was him dressed as the bride and him dressed as the groom. And it just went through, his wedding video. And it was hysterical because it's like, like you say, every wedding's different to a degree, but yet you're kind of running through the same little process. And so it was the funniest thing to watch because like, yep, they do that. Oh, and now they're crying because they're reading the vows and then they're doing this. I'm like, I can't remember the guy's name. I'll put it in the comments to link it. But yeah, just too funny. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for hopping on and chatting with us. Really
thanks for having me.
Now you also do coaching for videographers. Is that right? Do you have education?
I do. Yeah. Coaching for videographers. It's a little bit more on like the business side of things and like confidence building and just like how to navigate the wedding industry, but also a lot of the technical skills as well that you need for video.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, I mean, if someone's listening to this and they're like, oh, actually that does fit with me. It's not just about the money, but I want to learn about videography. Like how could they find you?
Yeah. So you can always reach out to me on Instagram, just slide into my DMs. You can go to my website and click the education page. And there's also a lot of free resources on there. There's a link to my YouTube channel where I just kind of like talk shop about working in the creative entrepreneurial world. Some video specific stuff, some businessy general stuff. And then, you can shoot me an email or just message me on Instagram.
Okay. So what's your website? What's the website? And we'll put it in the notes
Yeah,
too, but
it's goldandsage.com.
I love that. How did you come up with that? Where'd that come from?
So every other name was taken. And
I got the leftovers.
I wish I had a cute story. I wish I had a cute story, but this was back in the day.
Not to be lying, I was expecting a cute story. Like, it's the only thing that was available.
Yeah, it really was. And this was back in the day where everything was something and something co, or like something and something blah. And I was like, all right, what are two words that sound really good together? That's not taken.
There you go. That's how you make it happen. Well, I mean, we were talking the last week about like domains too, because it's like, oh my goodness, I'm like, all the domains that you start taking. I'm like, and I was working on something. I'm like, oh man, that's taken. And then I'm like, wait, and I go and look up at my list of all the domains, and I'm like, hey, it was taken by me. I can go ahead and use it. This is great. So that's Golden Sage. I'm glad that it was available for you.
Yes, it was. And I've been rolling with it ever since.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for hopping on and joining us. Really appreciate it. And if anyone's interested in videography, more education around that. I love that you're focused on the business side too, because that's certainly where I get my passion is, creativity. If people have the creativity in them, it usually is something that, they continue to find that inspiration. But the business side is something that for me particularly was not understood at all. And so I love diving into the numbers of things, helping understand the profit, the cost of doing business, all stuff that I didn't do for years after being in business because I didn't know. Right. So I love that you do that in the videography world to help them too, because there is a lot of time and talent and that goes into learning your craft, and you deserve to be paid for it. And so to be able to have someone else walk you through and help you understand why this is why you should be charging, 10 times more than what you're doing right now.
Right.
It gives that confidence to be like, oh, okay, so this is how we're going to do it. So I absolutely love that you're doing that too, and helping creatives make a real living and doing what they love.
That's right. Yeah. And confidence is a big part of it too. Because if you're like, so I usually charge like this much, but like no one's going to book you. They're like, this person doesn't know what they're doing. But if you can tell them like, hey, this is everything I'm going to provide for you and this is how much it costs, and you sound confident about it, they're going to be happy to do that. But like you actually have to be confident to sound confident. And that's a big disconnect for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that could be a whole nother conversation for another day for sure. Right. Well, Sarah, thanks for hopping on. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.